New font, David.
All right, guys. Welcome to podcast number 17. What's going on, Jason? What'd you say? I heard you right at the end.
So did you get a new font?
New font? No, I think this was what we used last time. I don't know.
No, for the intro thing.
Oh, for our intro? No. I may have changed it, though, because I kind of put it together a little differently, so it worked a little bit better, I think. So
where do I find this link?
For the Twitch stuff?
Yeah.
I can put it in the chat for you.
Cool.
I linked it a second ago.
I don't. It's probably higher. Oh,
Yeah,
it
it's way up.
didn't actually make a link because I didn't put HTTP, but that's it if you want to copy it.
See?
All right, so hey guys, I want you to meet a couple people. You may remember Weyland from a podcast we did towards the beginning of the year, but probably not. He's only been on once. It's a real life buddy of mine,
Well, this
Jason.
incarnation. Some of the
Yeah,
old podcasts.
he's been in some old podcasts. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you've been in some of those.
Somewhere in the YouTube.
You got our resident DM Tarnis here, which you know from our normal podcast, and then we got a newcomer, local guy that we know who owns a game store, Harvey. He's here with us tonight as well, and we're gonna be talking about D&D 5e, D&D in general. So we'll still go through our normal stuff, like what we've been playing this week and some news and stuff like that. But the main focus of our podcast tonight will be 5th edition. All about 5th edition, the books, the successes, the failures, etc. So we'll be talking about that tonight. So welcome. Hopefully you guys get some insight. I think some people that are going to be playing with Tarnis soon, who have never played, are going to hang out tonight as well. So
I can't wait for that game. It got pushed back because of the tournament and some date mix-ups, but yeah, I can't wait.
Well, sometimes it's hard to get that many grown-ups together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Adulting.
It's always hard. Yeah, so you never know. So cool. So what I want to do real quick before we get started is let's let you guys kind of introduce yourselves, maybe some history, background on D&D, or whatever you want to say. I just want to put it out there and get y'all's info out there, so if people want to follow you or check out any more details about you guys, they can get out there on Twitter, websites, etc., and kind of know a little history. So I believe my first guest is going to be Jason. So Jason, you want to say anything about your history and stuff?
Sure. I think I've been DMing for 20 years now, which sounds like a really long time.
It is.
Makes me feel really old.
I know some people watching right now were like one. So,
I started in 2nd edition, played 3rd, 3.5, Pathfinder, a bunch of other games too many to even talk about that are not even D&D, but are, tabletop RPGs. Skipped over 4th and came back for 5e. Big fan of D&D in general. Honestly, I think 5e is probably the best version of D&D that I've seen. Having played since that. Also, probably at cons at least, I've probably played every version back to OD&D, Basic Expert, and everything else. And man, those old games they're rough. But yeah, other than that, D&D enthusiast. Next year, first quarter, I'm hoping to have some content up on DM's Guild. We'll see how that all turns out. But
he's going
my plan
mainstream
right now.
Go on.
No, he's going the mainstream. Our campaign's going to get all wonky because he's got to keep up with his content.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to release a few things first that I already have written up from my home game. So, but I just want to release on DM's Guild, see how it does. And then I have a couple ideas for some campaign guides and stuff like that. DM's Guild's got some interesting rules. You can't write can't sell custom campaigns. So if you have your own world, they're not really into that. They want generic material or material for their existing worlds.
Sure.
One of the two. But I really want to do some stuff if you've ever seen obviously people have read Harry Potter, but if you've ever read Name of the Wind or a bunch of other fantasy, there's a trope of a magical school. I want to write a campaign guide for running that as a D&D game, but that's going to be a little bit more involved. But first,
No, I was gonna say it sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully.
I know you've been talking about content creating for like years now and really wanting to do it. And
yeah, and I had a lot of stuff saved up, but like I'm just gonna start off with release some. I have a couple ideas for just like alternate PC races, a couple subclasses, that sort of thing. Just something to get out there and see if people like it. Also test out formatting skills and whatnot. I have a lot of tools that I've found that are really good for designing PDFs to look professional, look just like the thing.
Cool.
Most of them are free out there. Brushing up on my Chicago manual style.
Right. Cool. That sounds good.
Sort of thing.
Awesome. So we'll be looking forward to you becoming famous next year. So that's the hope. That's the dream every time.
I think most stuff on Games Guild sells for like $1.
Well, you just gotta have 1 million people buy it. It's fine.
Oh, only 1 million.
Yeah, with 5e, that's easy. Come on. All right, it's good. All right, cool. Let's move on. I believe my next guest is Tarnis. As long as I didn't F up the transition. Yep, I'm good. So
Hey,
here's
that's
Tarnis.
me. Hi, Mom. I guess I'm one of the regulars here. I don't know why they put up with me, but for D&D, I've been playing D&D for about 20 years. I've been DMing for about 15 years. And if you can actually see the thing behind me, Undermountain, I've been running that module as a one-shot for 15 years, just over and over and over again, ad nauseum.
Undermountain is life.
Undermountain is life.
I'm just curious how you run a mega dungeon as a one-shot. That sounds intimidating.
No, it's pretty fun. I mean, it's basically a run and gun. You go down, you try to get as much loot as possible, and you try to make it out. And I fuck with the entire of you trying to make it out.
Yeah, no, we did it last year during our 48-hour charity stream, and it was fun. I had a good time, and the thing is we did it at the end of the stream, and I still had a good time whenever I was dead tired. So, it's a fun module. No matter how much time you have, it seems like at least the way Tarnis runs it, you can get some stuff done. It's pretty good. So, and
then other than that, just been focusing on my baby Undermountain, making the maps and everything for it, especially since I have issues with the Dungeon of the Mad Mage, but we'll go into that in a little bit.
True.
But yeah, I've played from 2nd edition, 3.5. We don't talk about 4, and I'm on the 5th. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think any of us talk about 4, so you're probably in good company. But
yeah, just love D&D in general. I love running, and I love teaching it, which is why I can't wait until I can teach the group that's coming up just how to play D&D in general.
Yeah, cool. All right, cool. And then last but not least, we have our 4th guest, which is Harvey. One of our local game store owners. Go ahead, Harvey.
Hey guys, yeah, my name's Harvey. I own The Multiverse. It's a game and comic shop in Hearst, Texas. The beginnings of Dungeons and Dragons for me started advanced 2nd edition, I think, back in 1994, 95, probably 95, and I had a dungeon master that was very much a me versus you guys kind of perspective, and let's just say I was very proficient in rolling up new characters. I rolled 2 to 3 characters a week. I mean, but that's half the fun, right? I spent so much time dying that became the only fun. But it kind of lost me, the whole Thaco algebra, frickin' just to see if I hit a stupid goblin. Got too much of me. And that was the end of it. And flash forward to 2015, I had some buddies that were like, hey, man, you should come play Dungeons & Dragons with us. I'm like, Thaco. The only thing I hate worse than 4th edition is Thaco. And they're like, oh, that's not a thing anymore. And so I tried it out, and I've been running with it ever since. I teach kids how to play. I started up a thing called Junior League, where we teach kids as early as 6 years old how to play, and you'd be surprised how well they pick it up, and a lot of them go on to be pretty decent dungeon masters. Both of my kids 14 and 12 years old. They're pretty solid dungeon masters, and there have been times in an Adventures League setting where no adults want to step up to run a table, and one kid stepped up and was like, all right, let's do this. I got no foolish matter.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I know my son likes to play. He doesn't play, like, we don't have like a game that we play in weekly or anything, but I know during the con we were speaking about beforehand, he comes out and he plays like in the kids game and stuff like that. And I noticed that too at the con. There's a lot of like teenagers running games, which is really cool to see. So, and that's something we can kind of discuss later too, when we're talking about the success of 5e, you know, as opposed to earlier editions and stuff like that. So I think that kind of helps speak in the volumes that it's are the advancements it's made, like in this edition. I think, you know, partially due to accessibility and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. My son loves it, so I wish I had more time to actually run a game with him, you know, like or had enough people to run a game. I mean, I got 3 kids. Eventually, they'll all be old enough that I could just run a game for them, right? So
yeah,
once the littlest one gets up there, then we're good to go. So have my own party. Anyways, cool. Well, let's step back just for a second before we talk some more about 5th edition. In the podcast, we like to do like what we've played this week. You can include board games and stuff, because I know, like, I don't know what you like to do in your spare time, Harvey, but if it's board games, that's cool. You can talk about them if you feel like it, or Magic or whatever. It's just mostly we like to go over what we played, and if we like, oh man, this is awesome, you should check this out. And I'll get the party started just so you kind of get the hang of what we're doing here. So I played a couple things this last week. Fallout 76, which I know everyone hates, but I actually had fun with it. I'm liking it. I think you have to play it for what it is, which is a survival game, not a Fallout game. So people who are expecting Fallout story, don't play this game. You know, people who are expecting a Fallout flavored survival game, there you go. Obviously bugs, but they've patched it a couple times, and it's getting a lot better. They just put in.
You haven't logged in today, have you?
Not today, because the new patch just came out. I heard that there was some problems with weight, and well, you know, patches sometimes break things, so we'll have to see how it goes tomorrow, I guess. Anyways, they did add. Hey, they bumped it to 600, Tarnis, and they said they're going to go higher, but they want to check stability. I guess that failed. It sounds like, but
yeah, but the encumbrance glitch is still working too, which is strange.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So I've been playing a little bit of that. I've been getting back into Diablo 2. I've been kind of jonesing for some Diablo, and with
Diablo 2, not 3.
Yeah, with the announcement of
so long.
Yeah, with the announcement of Immortal, I've lost hope for right now. I'm looking for some other versions to play. So I'm playing the Median XL version. It's a modded version of Diablo 2. It's really good. So if you're looking for like a throwback to Diablo 2, go look up Median XL. It's pretty cool. And lastly, I played Star Citizen. We played the newest alpha, about 5 or 6 of us, on Thursday last week. We had a blast. I think we played about 5 hours or so with a bunch of guys who have the game. It was super fun. There are bugs in it that are, I mean, I'll show a couple clips here in a second of the bugs, but there are bugs in it. Obviously, it's an alpha, but they're funny as hell when they happen. It's one of those things where like you enjoy the game more because there are bugs right now. Obviously, you don't want these bugs to happen on release because they are, you know, they kill you and stuff.
So when is it going to release again?
Oh, I'm sure another 6 years from now. So total development cycle of 12 years. And
what's the budget of that thing? Like 200 million?
They're over 200 million. And last week on their free week where anybody could come and test it out, they earned $7 million more last week.
Whoa.
just last week.
So
So
the guy just got a bunch of dollar bills and decided to go swimming in it. And they almost guarantee it.
Yeah, but everyone's really pessimistic about it. But to be honest with you, they keep turning out product. Like, it's not a finished product, but there keeps being updates and new features and stuff like that. They are making progress.
They have a roadmap and they stick to the roadmap. So like, that's good. And if you see all the, I mean, I was showing Jason the other day. You see how many actors they have in Squadron 42, and it blows you away how many people they paid.
Like every sci-fi actor you can imagine has like a cameo in that thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. But anyways, it's working. They're working on it. Unfortunately, the release, who knows? So, anyways, it's still fun. I liked it. So, whatever. Some people don't like it because it's taken so long, but to be honest with you, game development cycles can be 10 years long. You just don't know about them until the last couple of years, So,
yeah, if you're not copy pasting from an old engine, making your game number 4, then
yeah, exactly. So, anyways, all right, cool. Well, what about you, Tarnis?
Well, I too have been playing Fallout 76.
Yeah,
just trying some things out. I think I've made like 6 new characters just to try some things out, different builds, all that fun stuff. And then I get encumbered, and that's when I create a new character. Because encumbrance is a bitch. Other games, I just decided to boot up the Twitch app for the computer. I don't know. I never really boot that thing up because it's pretty much useless.
Except for all the free games you get every month.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like looking at Guild of Dungeoneering. Was one of those free games that I got. I was like, okay, let's try this out. And that was pretty cool. And then it was on Steam sale, so I bought everything.
Oh, yeah, it was like DLC and everything?
Yeah, all the DLC. I mean, it's just a lot of fun. It's like you start out as a shopkeeper, and you find a bunch of chumps who are willing to go do dungeons for you, and you take their loot.
Wow. Okay, and then you sell it. Okay, that's awesome.
And if they die, they die. They just get a gravestone in your graveyard. Yeah, it was pretty fun. And then last but not least, I've been trying out that Marbles on Stream.
Yeah. I've seen some people do that.
It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Also, you've been playing some PUBG. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a minute too. Right?
New news. I have a new that can run games. That I can actually load into Miramar and not have to get kicked out of an airplane.
You're not auto dropping. You're actually able to drop on your own. Yeah. Cool deal. Well, what about you, Jason? Anything you've been playing this week or doing?
Any new board games or anything? The only computer game I'm playing is Destiny.
Didn't you start a new campaign for D&D though?
We did start a new campaign. I don't know if there's much to talk about there because it's all homebrew.
Yeah.
Homebrew everything. I just finished up campaign 2 weeks ago. My first, not my first, but I think there were 2 people. Was their first 1 to 20 campaign. Yeah. It's like 2 years I think we ran it. Ancient Red Dragon, not as impressive to 20th level characters as you might think. Other than that, did that. We started a new one last week. The video game side, mostly still just playing Destiny.
Awesome.
Reading through a bunch of stuff, trying to get ready for my other game, which you're in, which is doing that. Not next weekend, but the weekend after that.
It's like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, which is my first campaign I've ever ran in an official campaign world, so that's weird.
Yeah, it's the first time he's done Forgotten Realms, and it's my favorite thing. Not because I played any Forgotten Realms tabletop, but I've played like literally all the Forgotten Realms video games. So then you're like, oh, Baldur's Gate, oh, Waterdeep, this is awesome.
Yeah, they last game I was running a modified version of Dragon Heist because by the time I got Dragon Heist and read through it, they were already past all the intro stuff. So I kind of messed with some things, leveled some stuff up. But they stole Jarlaxle's hat. Like, it's not something that we're gonna see how that works out because
It's a high-level magic item, man. Yeah.
Jarlaxle has no strength save apparently, and the fighter just stood on him, and they stole his hat. So
shenanigans will occur.
Yeah,
Always.
no, they got some good rolls, and the druid happened to have the right spells, and the fire happened to have the right spells to exploit pretty much his biggest weakness. So it was interesting. But yeah, other than that, just trying to get that ready.
Cool.
And reading all the stupid stuff about the new Black Armory drop for Destiny.
I saw that. Was that today they posted that, or was it?
Yeah. It dropped. They do their resets on Tuesday, so it came out today. But apparently, so light cap was 600. I mean, and apparently to start the first activity in the DLC, you have to be 620.
Oh boy.
So you got to grind down another 20 light level before you can even start the DLC. So a lot of people are upset about that. However, there are a lot of people who were just sitting on rewards and literally hit the light cap in under 8 hours because they just immediately turned in all the bounties they've been sitting on, which now gives them new gear over the light cap.
Right.
So I guess they maybe knew what they were doing, but for those of us who didn't do that, it's kind of like.
I gotcha. Cool. What about you, Harvey? Anything you've been playing or doing past couple weeks?
Yeah. The cool thing for me, video game wise, is my birthday was just less than a month ago, and I got a copy of the new Spider-Man game for PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
So I've been slinging web on that thing like there's no tomorrow. It's so much fun. I remember going back to the Superman. I don't know if it was Superman Returns, around the time the Superman Returns game came out for Xbox 360, and it was great. Flying around for like an hour.
Thought about you're about to mention the Superman 64 game for a second.
But yeah, this is what that game should have been like. Just the mechanics of just swinging around the city. I can do that all day. But just adding in all the tasks. There's some puzzles, and I'm a puzzle guy, so it's a lot of fun. I'm having fun with that one. The animation's really great, and one of the cool things is if you swap suits, because you add that function in and out of the game, and a cutscene occurs, it cuts to the actual suit that you've unlocked that you're wearing at that time. So there's a lot of attention to detail that went into this, and I'm really happy with.
I remember seeing a clip of someone wearing one of the alternate costumes. It was like a weird one. It was on a subway, and it looked like cosplay. Like you thought it was cosplay too.
Right.
Like, really zoomed in on it because I mean the animation.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's probably like one of the fast travel functions. If you're wearing or if you use fast travel, one of them is he's on a sub, and there's a guy in a he's having a conversation with a guy who's wearing a Spider-Man costume, and it's pretty cool.
It's funny because they were talking about that specifically because the meme where the Spider-Mans are pointing at each other. There's a meme that has that, so you can do it in the game. Anyways, it's pretty funny. But yeah, a lot of people I've heard. I have not played it, but I watched Kovic, a streamer we watch a lot. He played it. He absolutely loves that game. For him, it's the game of the year. I thought it would probably be game of the year, but I think with Red Dead out, that's going to topple it. But that's a different.
There's a lot of good stuff about that one.
Yeah, it's a different conversation for a different day. But still, Spider-Man looked like to be like one of those really good ones that it may get some awards and stuff, but it looked like a great game. So that's cool. Good thing you got some sweet games for your birthday. Right. Cool deal.
If it wasn't that, it'd be Minecraft. I'm a big fan of punching blocks.
Yeah, baby, Minecraft. You know what? I still play it here and there. I think we talked about. I don't know if it was Tarnis with us or not, but we talked about starting up a new Minecraft server recently. So I'll hit you up, Harvey, if you want to play some Minecraft later.
Down, man.
Let me real quick get to these clips. We got a couple of clips I'm going to show real quick. To set up my clips, they're all from the Star Citizen Alpha. They're all they might not all be bugs, but they all seemingly end in failure. So that's always good. So let me switch over. And let me switch to Twitch over YouTube. All right, and I think let me make sure this isn't too big. There we go. That should work. Let me make it a little bit smaller so you can see my face. There we go. Okay. This first clip is I'm just trying to get the hatch open on my door in my spaceship, and people are just trying to get in. So here's the first clip. No, did y'all open the door when I closed it? That's what happened. Somehow the door is halfway open.
Oh god.
Only press it once, guys. Charlie. Did you just die?
Sounds like you need a laxative.
Oh my god. Can you get in, or do I need to open the door?
Is the door crushing you?
Yeah. So the door is supposed to just open and close. One thing we noticed in this game when we were beta test, or playing the test, is sometimes the door would be open for everyone else except for one person, and you can't go through the door if it doesn't look like it's open to you, right? So you normally have to close it and reopen it. Well, we had a problem with the door in the ship, and just like I was closing it and opening it until I could see it open, and then so it was just like bugging out, and it was just crushing people between the two sliding doors. It was pretty funny. So it turned out to be kind of a hilarious clip opportunity. So, and Charlie just was like flying through space trying to get in and just like slammed into a wall. It was a pretty good time. So, all right. So here's the other one. This one is my first takeoff in Star Citizen, and really what makes this clip is just Charlie's comment about my flying. So. Here's this one. Alright, the engines are on. Can I... Okay, strafe up with space.
This is my captain.
Oh my god!
Holy shit!
I didn't know my collision with what?
Yeah, the whole station.
So what happened there is I was getting a collision warning, and it just keeps telling me collision. I'm like, what am I going to collide with? And Charlie's like, the entire station, which was what made it great. So, all right, Tarnis, you want to put up or kind of preface yours?
All right. Well,
which one do you want to show first?
Let's do the first one. Last night. So
okay.
I have a new computer, which means I can finally start streaming the games I've been wanting to play with you guys forever. But I'm not very good at PUBG, and that's like understatement of the year award right there. I'm awful with this game. But last night it was shooting fish in a barrel, and I'll let Pyro show how bad me, Kovic, and a few others were.
All right, here goes.
He's hit. Oh no, come. He's hit.
One in the bathroom, one. Oh, I guess you're rushed.
Damn it. I knocked him. There was one lane. Did you see that guy laying in the hall?
My favorite part about this clip so far. My god.
Oh god. There's more. Yep, there we go.
No, that was great. My favorite part is that whole time you had your hand on your chin. You were just with one hand, you were killing all those dudes. You were just sitting there killing all those dudes.
No. That was us getting killed.
Oh, that was a guy. Okay, that makes it more funny. I thought that was you. That was you just watching the clip. I got it.
No, that was just me going.
Yeah, oh, okay. I get it now. I get it. You just got obliterated by one dude sitting in the hallway. Got it.
Yeah, it was Kovic, myself, and Easy, and all just getting destroyed by one person.
Now, this other one has to do with the tournament y'all were in the other day. Right?
Yes, there was a tournament being hosted by N8 Entertainment, and well, I'm gonna again say I'm not very good at PUBG, but we won a prize.
You won a prize, and it was this clip, right?
And it's mainly because of gliding. So here we go.
It's your participation trophy, Tarnis. Okay, here we go.
This is gliding.
I
some underwear. You guys made me crap myself. Hey, you guys got underwear? Come on, I need some. Hey, donate me! Donate me! I need underwear!
I remember watching that the other day, and it was pretty funny. It's funny because I guess you were already dead, and it was just easy that was up, or what?
Yeah,
I mean,
so I got murked real fast, and I was trying to help him out, and that's when all I hear is he's like, "Hey, turn your mic on." I'm like, "Oh God, I have to clip this. Something horrible is gonna happen." And he just starts yelling at the people who are gonna murder him. Nice.
Yeah. No, that I can see why it won. It has some comedic value for sure. So, cool. Well, all right. Let's get into the meat of this thing and do some D&D talk. That way, you guys can get to bed, obviously. So, I wanted to start off with releases. We can go in whatever order, but I'm going to start top to bottom unless you guys have a preference. So, I think I ordered these in release, but maybe not, because I think Mordenkainen's was before.
Definitely not. It's Mordenkainen's Dragon Heist.
Was Eberron after that? Yeah.
Eberron was somewhere in there. Eberron might have been slightly before Dragon Heist. I can't remember.
It was before Dragon Heist.
Yeah, I think I just swapped the last two.
And then Ravnica and Mad Mage
were simultaneous, weren't they?
Same day, yeah.
Okay.
They bumped Ravnica.
Yeah, I noticed because I knew it was supposed to come out later, and then Jason was like, "I got Ravnica," and I was like, "What?"
Oh man, their delivery schedule on everything, minis, cards, books, has been jacked up the whole last quarter of 2018.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay, so so basically we're gonna talk about what we liked about the releases, didn't like. If you guys have a suggestion on should you buy it or not, or why, that's fine. You know, I just put my notes in on why I like things and stuff, but y'all are welcome to say anything about these products. I want to give information on them, basically, you know. So we're gonna talk about Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica first, as it was one of the latest releases. Jason seemed to like this a lot more than I think he originally thought he was going to.
I was the most cool on this release. Like, I hadn't even pre-ordered it. It was just like, whatever. I don't care about it. I was meh. And I got it because Harvey's a drug dealer.
I hear that so many times a day, man.
He had to sell you a stack. And I was actually, by the time it came out, I was actually interested because they released some Unearthed Arcana and some teasers about it, so I was interested in it. But actually, I think it's my favorite release of the year. It is amazingly good, just from like a interesting like rule standpoint. Like if you're looking for new content, new ideas to flesh out your home campaign, it's a great place to go. The races are all really interesting and unique and have interesting things. The 2 new subclasses, Circle of Spores for a druid is probably my favorite druid I've ever seen in existence.
I agree with this statement. I love Circle of Spores as well.
It's great. And even if you're not interested in running in Ravnica, the races are all Minotaur, Centaur. These are classic races you could, easily use somewhere else. And the other ones, like the Simic Hybrid, is straight up Beastman. Like, I mean, fantasy classic. Now they have the magic aesthetic, which I really like. And I know some D&D fans don't like getting too away from that classic look and feel of monsters and things, but I think it's nice to get a fresh look on things. Also, the monsters. There's a new Lich in there. If you're tired of the thing Lich, there's new Medusa. There's 2 new types of vampires. Like, if you want new monsters, it's great. Not to mention Niv Mizzet, the dragon in there. Remember I told you I just finished the campaign and told you Ancient Dragon not as impressive as you want to be? I wish I'd had Niv Mizzet because he is impressive. Like, they're really good. And even if you're not interested in all that, the guilds that the book is like kind of all about, like, it's like the campaign really wants your character to be a member of a guild. Like, that's very much so. You don't have to be, like, there's rules for guild lists, but it really wants you to be. But how they have the guild set up, and they have a renown system, and they have benefits for being in a guild, and they have benefits for gaining renown, you can easily take that and put it into Waterdeep. and use it to create your own guilds, or you can easily export it. Sigil, City of Doors was all about these factions. Well, if you want to recreate that and have a good template to start from, bam, this book is your go-to. Like I just think it's the best release all year. I'm not saying that the other releases aren't good. I just think Ravnica is that good. That it's probably my favorite release all year. It's pretty cool. Not to mention it's opening up for DM's Guild here pretty soon. So I'm interested to see what IP they're gonna let you write with and let you use, what Magic the Gathering IP. Also, this is the thing that people have been wondering about since they bought it in like 2000. Everyone was like, well, they're just going to turn D&D and Magic the Gathering, which they never did. They never even did any crossovers till 5e. Like, come on.
And we'll touch on this later. I think crossover has some assistance in growth and stuff like that. I think it may help out later down the road. So cool. Well, I definitely like your points. The only things I put in was I like the monster variations, the unique monster variations. Any book with player options is a favorite book of mine. So
this has a lot of them.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I was excited about that stuff as well. Anything else you guys want to add, Tarnis or Harvey?
I have not even cracked this book open. I don't own it.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't. Not everybody owns everything. Like I don't have Dungeon of the Mad Mage, so.
I would definitely, if you were looking for stuff to buy and you're a DM and you're not necessarily it's not an adventure. So if you're looking for a module, that's not what this is. But if you're looking for ideas to spice up your thing, I think this is a great place to go. The races I think are great. I can't tell you how many players I've had over the years want to play Centaur. I think this is the best write-up for a PC Centaur I've ever seen. I've seen lots of write-ups back in 3.5 where you had LA and all that weird adjustment stuff.
Yep.
But I think this is hands down, damn, this is good.
I just don't know how it could fit a Centaur down the fucking well for Undermountain.
Well,
they're medium.
They're
in
medium
this.
size.
They're medium Centaurs, so they're a little bit smaller. Think of them as a Western Plains Centaur.
Yeah.
So they're a little bit smaller than your average Centaur. That works, and that's one of the things I think that makes them work as a PC as opposed to the old Centaurs. Because you got the Centaur trying to go in the tavern. That was always a hilarious thing to try to picture in your mind's eye.
One thing I like about them being official playable races too is and I'm always about coming up with weird off the wall things, but I like the fact that you have the Centaur template now where if I wanted, I could probably role play a Dryad from WoW or whatever, different hybrids besides a horseman. You could have whatever elk something, some cool.
5e is all about that reskin,
right?
They talk about that. They want you to, they don't write up everything because if there's something similar to it, they just want you to reskin it, right? Instead of trying to bloat the game with a million races that are all just a little bit different. And I agree. That's really cool. I also can't remember. There's one other thing, but Harvey, you were telling me that you actually said that a lot of players come in the store and were actually surprised by how much they liked Ravnica. I think the other day.
Yeah. So there was a lot of trepidation surrounding the fact that it's coming over from Magic, and there are some people. It's the NIMBY thought process here. I don't want Magic to have anything to do with my D&D. I want to come in. I want to play D&D, and they don't seem to realize that it's this huge high fantasy, high magical setting that already exists. That they've. Oh my God, my Facebook is just going nuts here. Turn that off. It's the shop. Sorry guys. These players come in and they figure it's just going to be a ploy to get me to play Magic, and it's no ploy. That is Wizards' intent. They want the D&D players to be playing Magic. They want Magic players to be playing D&D. But when they opened up the book and saw how much world building went into there, and how great it was to assimilate this and take into account the fact that they kind of went away from Factions and Adventures League, the guilds definitely filled that spot because a lot of people did enjoy having that sense of diplomatic unity that that a faction was bringing, and I think between that and having miniatures that were based in something real, that went a long way with a lot of the customers that are coming in checking this stuff out.
Yeah, it's just really good, and like you said, the world building, like it's something that, I mean, D&D has gone with it, fast. There's so many D&D settings and so many adventures that it's hard to say that it brings something completely new to D&D, but it definitely brings something that you're probably not going to see in Forgotten Realms. Definitely not going to see like in a Greyhawk or something like that. It brings its own unique thing to the table, and I definitely think there's a lot of players that maybe who wouldn't latch on to like the traditional high fantasy setting will definitely like find this a much more interesting type of world to get into.
Well, and what's nice too is if you don't like it, you don't have to use the book. So
yeah, I mean it's some encompassed thing.
Yeah,
I think we're going to talk a little bit later about Chris Perkins stepping down for Acquisitions Incorporated, but Jeremy Crawford's DMing Acquisitions Incorporated now, and his first story arc is all in Ravnica, and he took the D&D characters and threw them in Ravnica with some weird planar travel stuff. But I mean, they even commented that they're completely out of the Great Wheel multiverse, like they're in their own like a whole other multiverse. So it's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool. I think I had a little bit. I don't think actually I really didn't have that much. The only thing I'm gonna point out in dislikes is I was just reading over some of the guild stuff, and I think maybe even correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but I think Jason may have commented on this as well. Some of the guilds, like I feel like some of the guilds they just threw in there because they just, I don't know, wanted opposing guilds or something. Some of them didn't
they're all designed like that. These guilds, Ravnica is this big guilds-based plane,
right?
And they all identify with certain colors on the magic spectrum, and they were specifically designed to be opposing other guilds.
Yeah, and that makes I get it, but then some of them feel like they lack a purpose, in my opinion.
I think a lot of the guilds exist to fill a thematic and mechanical space within Magic that maybe didn't translate over so well. Like some of the guilds, like the Is It Guild or Is It League, like you're straight up like, okay, these guys are cool. I get them. I get their theme, and like I really like the Galactic Swarm, the black green. Guild. Yeah, the Golgari Swarm. Those guys, they're like freaking creepy druids. Like they're just amazingly cool. And that's the other thing I like about it is it gets away from some of the paradigms of D&D where like in D&D, you have like a lot of times you have the elemental paradigms or the alignment paradigms, but like in this, the business guild that's all about commerce is black and white. Like they're the black-white guild. And they like combine religion and like capitalism into like this weird mafia thing, and in D&D you would think white is divine, so you would immediately assume they're good guys, but they are not good guys,
right?
But they're still associated with white spells and white creatures, so they're associated with angels and like these traditionally like good creatures, but they're not. And the same thing.
So it's the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I guess they're like the Sicilian branch.
I'm on the Pope's radar now.
Yeah, watch out.
So that's the other thing. In like Red, in D&D, you typically associate, okay, that's fire, but and fire is part of Red's theme in Magic. But Red's theme is more like more than fire. It's destruction. It's goblins. It's lightning. It's all these things. So the Red Blue Guild isn't just water and fire. It's all these other things are mixed into its theme. So I really think that it expands some themes. And so if you're maybe a little bit bored with traditional D&D like themes, there's definitely some stuff here that's different and expanded. I'm a big fan of it. I think I'm running like 2 games right now, but I'm honestly thinking my next game might be Ravnica. I'm not sure.
Can you wait until you're done with our current one so I can play? Thanks.
Do you have spots?
I mean, if you want, Harvey, I can get you in there. We play at Snowsea Saturdays. We're always looking for new players.
Can you play it online?
I'm already in like 3 online games. So.
We just set him up with an iPad on a tripod. They'll be fine.
There you go. Yeah. Anybody else have anything else on that on Ravnica?
I'm just gonna say I too was pleasantly surprised. I was a little anxious about buying a book that wasn't going to be Adventures League legal. I am a big fan of Adventures League, even though they've made some unpopular decisions in how they changed the gears that they shifted recently with this season 8. I'm still a huge proponent of it, and even though I can't use this in Adventures League, at least not right now, I do most of my games in homebrew, and I love that. I no longer have to convert stuff. I no longer have to make things, based off of cards with my own idea of how it needs to be done. Now there's a primer for it.
Well, and I think they open it up for DM's Guild, and I think that's just the first step. I imagine season 9 it'll be in Adventures League.
This might also open up stuff for it could segue into Adventures League with the CCC stuff, the convention or creator, or what is it, the convention created content or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I feel like next year we're gonna see some crazy stuff. So hopefully we'll see it eventually.
So we got one thing I want to bring up as we kind of touched on it, like the cross selling between Magic players and D&D. Yes, no. You think that was a goal at all, or
they made no attempts to hide it. That was the plan.
I can't imagine it not being a goal. I feel like the people who made the book were very sincere about making a good product because it is so good. I don't feel like it was a cash grab, but I also, on the other hand, don't feel like they didn't know exactly what they were doing. And this will.
It was all launched on a very specific weekend known as Ravnica weekend.
Okay.
And all the promotional material that was let loose, the Magic players didn't give a crap about it. They just wanted to come out and play Magic, the 4-pack draft Magic. They didn't care about the D&D stuff. The D&D players, it's easier to get D&D players, at least in my experience, to play Magic than it is to get the Magic players to play D&D.
Sure.
But first-time players.
There's a certain type of Magic player, and I feel like it's probably a minority of the community, but I don't play Magic, so I can't say for sure who cares about the lore. But a lot of them, and they'll play that because it lets them, tell a story and participate in a story, which is what they want. But a lot of them are, they're mechanics junkies. They're all about trying to figure out those combos and that sort of thing.
Right.
And the lore is just really, icing for them. And so I feel like you could grab that other.
Depends on the player. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think they're going to get some crossover out of it if they can sort out their Adventure League stuff. I think they can grow the community on both sides of that.
Yep.
So
the spikes of Magic aren't going to care because they're just there to crank out and win. But your Johnny's
were they Timmy's?
Your Johnny's and your Timmy's. Yeah. Especially the Timmy's.
You made that shorts comment the other day, Jason, so now I'm stuck on the Timmy's. So my question follow up on that then for cross selling, do you think they'll do another IP? And if so, what do you think it might be?
I don't know if they have another IP that isn't D&D or Magic. Like Wizards of the Coast, I'm sure they own some other stuff, but when you think Wizards of the Coast, those are the two properties you think of.
Yeah.
But I could see them doing another plane,
exactly,
like any of Innistrad, which is Gothic horror, although that might conflict with Curse of Strahd. But they have that Kaladesh. Man, I would love to see a Kaladesh.
That's what my thought was going to be. Is so they have the plane shift. They have the primers for those, and basically here's the plane of Magic. Here's how it works. Here's some custom stuff you can scatter in there, but they were 2 to 4 pages each. There wasn't a whole lot of content for that. But if they were to revisit another one, and I think they'd be stupid not to, even though it's only been out for a couple weeks, I really think it would be in their best interest to expand that. And I agree with you, Jason. I think Kaladesh is the one to go to because you start getting into more of the mechanical aspect of things, and people are really, the steampunk thing is really hot right now, and so that appeals to that merging Magic with technology, and starting to get into the Amonkhet stuff. We haven't been to a overtly desert area, at least not since. I know there was some stuff going on in 4th edition, but
we haven't been to a desert area since either. So you can count Dark Suns, but Dark Suns is really
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
Dark Suns is really post-apocalyptic. What's it called? It's an Egyptian setting. In Magic. would be really more of a competition with Al-Qadim, although Al-Qadim is Arabian, but it's not like Dark Sun is a hardcore setting. It's about like fighting the environment and all that. And I think that'd be more of that. And we haven't seen Al-Qadim since second ed.
Yeah, second edition.
So,
maybe it's time.
So I would see it, but I agree with them. I think that we're going to see them do other planes as long as Ravnica sells really well. Maybe not yearly, but that as long as also those other planes don't step on D&D
official Forgotten Realms stuff.
Yeah. Like there's that Gothic horror setting that I don't think we'll see because I think it's too close to Curse of Strahd. So I don't.
Well, so fun. I experimented with that a little bit. I didn't think it was a coincidence that they released Shadows over Innistrad, which is a Magic set from a couple of years ago, at the same time that Curse of Strahd hit the scene.
Yeah. So a lot of people have pointed that out and they deny it, but I agree. I think that those were like some of the marketing team was like, you should release a month early and you should release a month later so we can sync these up.
Yeah, no, and I played with that. That was awesome.
TOS, Tarnis.
Yep.
You son of a bitch.
You should get it like a red light for outside the door.
Right.
Recording. What was it? 2 years ago, I think that I was running a Curse of Strahd campaign, but I love it. I love going to Barovia. But the problem is that everyone at my table had either played it or run it. So I found out about these plane shift things, and I looked at the Innistrad thing, and I decided to play Curse of Strahd, but on the plane of Innistrad. So there's some fundamental changes to playing in there as opposed to Barovia. And it was a nice little mind screw to my players who thought they can meta without me knowing. They're like, what do you mean it doesn't work like this? Well, you're not where you think you are.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
Oh, man. Well, cool. Yeah. So I think just to touch on the next one where you think it may be that desert one. Think about the miniatures for that one. I'm ready.
Oh my god!
I don't have to buy miniatures because Jason buys all of them, so I can just go to his house and look at them. But
I want a Nicol Bolas. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Dragon. I want like a case incentive of him. That would be amazing.
That would have to be it.
Yeah, like he'd just be amazing. Oh man, I have too many dragons.
It was like just a bust, just from like the breast line up, because I want the crest of his horns with the little gem that's suspended in between it.
We always joked about getting like those cool busts and doing like an old school arcade video game fight where it's just like the bust shows up and like they have to fight it, like just like goes back and forth. Yeah.
Get like some 8-bit music going.
Well, so that's Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. Next, we're going to talk about Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which we're going to hear, I think, a little bit more from Tarnis on.
Yeah, I've seen him prepping in the background there.
So let's start with that. Real quick, I guess let's start with the likes. So I don't have a lot to say about this because I don't own the book, except for... It's never mind. That's for my next one. That's for Dragon Heist. Never mind. I have nothing to say because I don't have the book. Haha. But I think Jason has something he wants to put out there.
I mean, I have a couple things. I read like Tarnis's comments on it, and I'll let him say his piece because I just have a couple small rebuttals on that. But I want to hear his full argument.
Is this gonna be a nerd fight? I can
full on nerd fight.
It's like a nerd gentlemanly disagreement. But I think it's really cool. The only thing I can point out right about is that one, having some 5e support for Skullport is really cool. Because Skullport is, you want to do that sort of thing. I think it's a big
Spelljammer.
Yeah, and then the other thing I think is really cool is there's a spelljamming helm in the book, like in the Magic Item section for treasure, which I don't know if that's an Easter egg, but God, I hope it's foreshadowing for next year. Because
it's not just that. There's a guy from Spelljammer. His ship has actually crashed in Undermountain.
Yeah,
and this isn't new. Like they in Mordenkaisen's Tome of Foes, which we'll get to, that they have GIF and a few other Spelljammer races. So I feel like they're leading up to some maybe the more esoteric D&D settings, which I'd love to see. Overall, Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I mean, it's a mega dungeon. I don't run a lot of mega dungeons because dungeon fatigue is a real thing. Like players will get. Like you run those for a long time, but there's a lot of content there. And if anyone even wants to crypt notes, I think it's worthwhile just to open up and look up.
That's why Blizzard invented Scrolls of Town Portal.
Yeah,
that's right.
Just because there's so much content there, even if you're not interested in running Mad Mage, I think there's a lot there that you can like. Just
and I'll point out that that's what a lot from what I read, because I just went online and read some reviews and stuff. A lot of people point that out. They're like, listen, there's so much content in this book that you can just pull the stuff out and use it for your campaign and be like, here's like a dungeon map, and it's fleshed out. So that's cool.
It probably has the least story of anything they've released up till now, but it's got so much content. Like if you just want dungeons,
I think that would be Tales from the Yawning Portal, because it's just rehashing of
but Tales from
old
the Yawning
modules.
Portal wasn't like an end of year release though, so I don't know. But yeah, you're probably right. Tales of the Yawning Portal is probably the least.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready for Tarnis. I think on the dislike, and I want to preface this before he gets started that Tarnis has been DMing for 15 years, and his main go-to is Undermountain. So
no. I've been DMing just
Undermountain for 15 years. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Same campaign, same party.
No, one shots.
Mostly one shots.
Yeah. All right, go ahead, Tarnis.
Crazy.
Okay. This thing is the second edition Undermountain. This is just the first level of the map. Now, we're going to show you my disappointment. I'm going to go straight to dislikes right away.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's why I switched gears. Dislikes.
That's how we know it's personal.
This
is
the first level of Undermountain. This section right here, just where my hand is, what my hand covers, is what they consider the first level of Undermountain.
Yeah.
Just what my hand covers. And then okay, if you want to just zoom in on me or do the Tarnis thing for a second.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
Because I didn't give you, I should have given you photos.
That's okay.
So guys, I gotta migrate, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, go ahead, dude.
Do something. I'm gonna work this.
So we got these little branches here, and down here. And it says, Tunnels lead to Expanded Dungeon. And they've already touched base on this, saying, this is Adventurers League content, which means they have now gone down the route of DLC for a dungeon.
You mean
downloadable content?
Well, isn't it called? What's it called, Jason? Dungeon
DM's Guild.
DM's Guild.
Yeah,
right?
and
not Adventurers League, but DM's Guild, right?
I just like to point out that one, they don't create that content. That's player generated content, and that it's an option. Like they talked about, like when they did the stream of Mini Eyes, they had Kate Welch and Jeremy Crawford up there that talked about that a lot of that was there, so because they didn't have the time to create a mega dungeon. Like mega dungeons are huge, but they want to give DMs places where they could put their own things, their own content, their own creations on, and do that sort of thing. And also it gives playing, because they're already creating DMs Guild content all the time, and now it gives you an easy hook into that. Instead of buying a module on DMs Guild, be like, well, how do I do this? You just have a quick hook if you're already running Mad Mage.
Now, let me ask this question, because obviously Tarnis, like it's like 1/5 of the original map, maybe, right?
No. It is like 1/10.
Okay, 1/10 of the original map. Are all those rooms on the first floor fleshed out in the original?
No.
Okay.
No. I would say about 3% of it is actually fleshed out.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Is the rest randomly generated?
Like what do you mean randomly generated?
Well, you say like
they have 3%? A table, or
yeah, you say like 3% is like fleshed out. So like if you go to the other room, do they have any like hint or idea of what's going on? I haven't read the second edition.
Okay. So this book right here is the 3.5 edition. This book gave me 4 rooms in the first one. So again, I'm not even kidding. 4 rooms. Just 4 small little tiny little sections. So again, that is beating that Dungeon of the Mad Mage beats that.
Right.
Then we look to the 4th edition book, Halls of Undermountain. Look how thick this book is. This is pathetic.
Very thin, right?
I mean, it flushed out level 1. I would say it flushed out. Actually, level 1 it flushed out probably 3 times what they did. But then again, that's all they did. 3 times of what the first level did for Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Yeah. So again, Dungeon of the Mad Mage beats their 4th edition book because this is only 1 level. This is only 1 level. And now we're going to the likes. This is 23 levels of a dungeon.
Yeah. I mean, it's as much mega dungeon you can get without a box set, I think. Or like one of those insanely like huge books like
World's Largest Dungeon.
Emerald Spiral, which was like this thick and it was almost unusable because you crack the book and the spine starts falling apart.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more pros than cons here, to be honest.
I mean, it is a lot of content.
It is a lot of content. 2, they had to. I think this is the first map pack that they've ever actually had to produce.
They had it's not like that. They had a pack for Tomb of Annihilation made by Gale Force 9 of vinyl maps, but they were more like a hex crawl map than a dungeon map.
Than a dungeon map, yeah.
And they're making another one for this set as well.
Are they? About time. That's what I thought this was going to be. I was really kind of disappointed.
Yeah, and the worst part is this one here it's the DM's version of the map, so you can't even effectively use it in your campaign.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One thing I do like about it, it's like almost a laminated base.
Yeah, they've been doing some really good products with their like their cards and everything they've been releasing. They're pretty nice quality.
So I can take a dry erase marker on this, wet erase marker, and draw on this, and have no.
Yeah, and one thing I did want to point out for Dungeon of the Mad Mage, again, something else I was reading is they also kind of gave you like a level suggestion for each level of the dungeon, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of neat.
Each level is supposed to have a really concrete theme to like pull it together, so that if you want to add on to it, you have a theme to build on.
Yeah.
So one thing that you probably, and this probably flies in the face of a lot of people who especially love 3.5, think of it as the holy grail of D&D formats. This 5th edition, a lot of people need to remember, is that it's very streamlined. The idea is that anyone can pick it up and start learning how to play. It seems to me, especially in the type of games that are produced these days, if someone tried to just pick up 3rd or 3.5, if they didn't have someone who had played before, they probably would be discouraged and not continue learning how to play.
I know when we were playing Pathfinder still, we lost one of my groups. It's an online group. We lost multiple people in the first game who just didn't want to keep coming back and playing. And then we switched to 5e. Some of those people now are regulars in our games.
Yeah.
And that just tells you like the difference in.
Yeah, and that's something we'll definitely be talking about here in a bit too, just kind of on the successes of 5e. I mean, you're touching on it now. It's just the accessibility for sure. And the ease of play, since the rules are a lot more streamlined. So it's good.
I just got a few more things to touch on, and
Go
then
for
we
it.
can actually move. I had some other problems with this, actually reading through the book. They have this dungeon was a killer dungeon. I have killed 98 players in Undermountain in 15 years. I have TPK'd multiple. Most of them are to their own stupidity or own curiosity.
Same difference usually.
Yeah. And I actually have a community of players who keep coming back for more because it's it's addicting. It's like, okay, which direction can I go next? And I use the second edition map. And Dungeon of the Mad Mage holds your hand the entire time.
Well, that's 5th edition as a whole, I think, for Dungeon Masters.
They've taken out a few things, which I can understand why they took them out. Save versus die mechanics they don't make a game fun.
Well, not that, but they don't, like, a lot of those old mechanics that made games really deadly just don't exist in 5e. Like,
yeah,
most things are like disintegrate. There's a save versus hit points, and then the hit points have to reduce you to 0 before you die. Plane shift has a save and attack. Like, most of those mechanics that, like, in the old games that were so deadly, like, you look in a hole, you're instantly dead. They just don't exist in the new, newer version. So,
and I've grown up on those mechanics. I've died so many times in so many different dungeons, and that's what I loved. I mean, I think it was Harvey himself who said, or was it Weyland? I don't remember. When they grew up playing D&D, the DM, you basically made 3 characters a week.
That was me.
Yeah.
And I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I'm like, okay, I brought 3 characters. I still have a character that I'm playing. I expect he's going to die in about 30 minutes. So,
well, we only play during lunch, so yeah, I usually have about 10 minutes later.
And then, I mean, they took out a lot. They also, like, level 1, there are some very, very iconic rooms that, I mean, anyone who's run through Undermountain, like, oh yeah, the Hall of Thrones. Yeah, I completely know them. They completely just ignored it 100%. Oh, the giant statue that is like one of the other entrances that shoots lightning all around. Again, completely gone. Not even in this version of Undermountain.
Sounds like we need just a good old-fashioned conversion.
That's right.
That's what I've been doing for a while as my own personal.
If you're doing conversions, you might look at DM's Guild, because that's one thing they do allow. There's a lot of people who convert old modules to 5e and post them.
That's one of the things I was working on with Tomb of Horrors, and then I found out that they were releasing
Tomb of Annihilation
Portal, and I was like, oh well, I guess I'm done here.
Well, that's the thing. I know you've put a lot of time into just the Roll20 maps, Tarnis, and bringing those over. So
yeah, and I mean, I've been hand drawing in GIMP just to redraw the second edition maps.
Yeah,
and I put everything on hold to see what Dungeons of the Mad Mage was going to be like. Well, Dungeon Mad Mage here, and I'm going to continue my project. But it's like every other Undermountain book, and I own every single Undermountain book. If it references Undermountain, I own it. If it even hints at Undermountain, I own it. I have novel. I mean, there's a novel, Escape from Undermountain. There's another one, Down Shadow, which only one chapter does a race through parts of Undermountain. Well, I had to own it just because Undermountain. It's my obsession. Undermountain, Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I'm happy. I'm not happy. I'm like a quarter and you flipped it. I love it because this is actually more content than the original The Ruins of Undermountain. It gives you 23 levels of Undermountain. Hell, it gives you the very last part where you actually get to say hi to Hallister Blackcloak, the Mad Mage of Undermountain.
Yeah.
I also like, I don't know if they had in the previous ones, but in the beginning it talks about why Undermountain exists and how there's a snarl in the weave and the creation of the ruins and like how Waterdeep. And I don't know if that was in the previous ones, but I didn't know any of that about Undermountain until I read this. And
I'm right there with you. I did not know the snarl and the weave and all that.
And like how basically Hallister's trapped there as because he's like this weird magical effect. It's pretty cool. Like there's some good stuff. I don't want to spoil too much, but But
Alright.
it gives some cool backgrounds on it.
Here's another question. Here's another thing. I think me and you and Wayland have had a little chat about this in the middle of the podcast. The Spell Plague.
Yeah.
Undermountain was hit with the Spell Plague. When the Spell Plague hit, it literally cracked it open. There's a giant crack down the first level of Undermountain. It doesn't exist anymore. It's like they completely retconned it. But if you look at a lot of 5e stuff, they still talk about the Spell Plague. And yes, I know the Undermountain is literally a creation of a mad wizard who can just be like, you know what? Everything's fixed. We're all back to normal.
Yeah, there's a lot of between second edition, or not second edition, between fourth edition and actually between third to fourth and fourth to fifth. There's a lot of weird retconning going on because in fourth they introduced a lot of new thematic concepts that were tied to mechanical concepts, and they tried to integrate them into the world. And then in fifth they've really abandoned them, and so they have the thing called the what was it where the two worlds start overlapping with each other and like continents start appearing and the Dragonborn's nation appeared and then it disappeared, and that's why there's Dragonborn Forgotten Realms now. So there's actually like legitimate in-game, in-universe reasons why like whole continents and whole nations now exist in Forgotten Realms that did not exist in their past.
Yeah.
And so I assume anything, I'm trying to remember what that was called. Dave, do you remember what it was called? And it basically resets everything for the beginning of 5th edition. And they don't ever go into detail about all what's involved in that. And if you look it up, it seems like it's almost purposeful. But I always assume that any big glaring differences are due to that. And I think it's called
Second Sundering.
Yeah, the Second Sundering. And it had a lot to do with in 4E there was like sources for magic. There was like arcane and primal and like that. And so there was this thing where like there was a shadow, like a parallel world, and it got destroyed, and some of it ended up over here and some of it ended back. But like even the desert was gone and now it's back, and it's there's just some weird stuff, and they don't go into detail on it because I don't think they want to. I think they want to leave that stuff vague until they want to fill it out, like Rake Dungeons the Mad Mage. Then they're like, we don't want a giant crack in it, so we're going to say that right away, you know?
Yeah, I think Harvey wants to speak up for a second. I think he's got to get going.
Yeah, guys. Sorry, I didn't want to just be intrusive and interrupt. I got some shenanigans occurring up at the shop. I got to go help out. So they have a game stream, and they need another body.
Okay, yeah, no worries. Hey, thanks for coming by, though, Harvey. Appreciate it.
I hope I can pop in again and actually stay to the end this time. But yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you guys and talking shop. Have a good night.
Yeah. All right. See you later. All right, guys. That worked a little bit better than I thought because I have some 3-man stuff already put in here for sometimes when we have 3 people, so that did not take as long as I thought it would. So I think we're ready to start over. I got Harvey in there as a skeleton now. He died, but we should be good to continue. Did we have some more to say about Mad Mage before we continue?
I wanted to hear Wayland's rebuttal.
Oh, it's just mostly what I'd said. Like you were talking about the DLC and the lack, like how it was less than the old box set. But to be honest with you, I think, and I even seen it. I tried to go find the tweet from one of the people that even talked about it. That they, in a lot of ways, it's meant to be like a DIY. You know, they wanted it to be a toolbox for people to be able to build on. I don't think their intention was to sell DM's Guild, but the DM's Guild's always a thing. Like whenever they release Strahd, when they released Tomb of Annihilation, they always tried to get people to make content for DM's Guild that can fit into the module. Like when they released Strahd, they want people to write Ravenloft content so that if you were playing Curse of Strahd, you could have these other side modules, side ventures to go on. And I think that in this case, they just built, with those tunnels, just built that in. They're like, look, you can design your own content. Even if you ever read Tribality, I think that's how you pronounce it, they're a really good site. They keep up with a lot. But even they talk about, like, if you have the old stuff, you can use those old maps and add on to all of that. And I don't think like they're trying to like get DLC. I think they're just trying to create hooks for if you go buy content or if you want to create your own content, so you can easily add on to it.
I'm sorry. There was one last thing I wanted to talk about: the hand holding. There is a mechanic that I do want to talk about. It spoils it a little bit, but not much. There is
hashtag spoilers, just in case anybody cares.
Spoilers.
Yep.
There is a hair of Hallister who is no longer has a body. She is literally in the walls of Undermountain, her consciousness. And if you go down a set of stairs, these stairs literally yell at you, "Hey, you're not high enough level for this yet."
That is weird, but it's also a mechanic you can choose to use, I guess. You know what I mean? You'd be like, I'm going to ignore this.
And there are portals that you can use these or you cannot, but they put that in the very beginning of the book. It's like, she just doesn't let you use the portals because there's a portal that lets you go from level 1 of Undermountain, which is good for 5th level, that lets you go all the way down to 11th level, which is good for 11th level characters.
Right. I got you.
I can understand why it's there, but
that's not a mechanic. I mean, that's a little meta for me. Like, I personally wouldn't like a mechanic like that because I feel like that's a little bit out there. But I've had players who, you're trying to tell a story and go along it, and if you just don't give the players a giant hint with a baseball bat, they'll kill themselves 15 minutes into the game. And so you kind of want to, maybe the game lasts a little bit longer. So I can get why it's there. And also, in a lot of ways, they want it to be, Dragon Heist is 1 to 5, and then this is 5 to 20. So they kind of want new people to be able to pick this up and go through it all the way. So it might be there to help out new DMs, be like, hey, don't get your party killed just yet.
I'm sorry, that was the other thing. Again, pro con, it's actually right down the middle. This is a campaign. This is not a little side quest. This is a full-on campaign. Ruins of Undermountain was not a campaign. It was literally just a dungeon crawl to go through. It's like, here's this. Go have fun. There's no hooks or anything really. It's just, let's see how far you can get.
Right, but in any dungeon, I mean, most dungeons, even if you do it, the players have to have a reason to go there. Even if the reason is because they just want loot and treasure, they have to hear about it. They do research on it before they go there. I mean, that's all hooks are. And all they do is the campaign offers ways so that players have a reason to keep going back in there. Because I'll tell you this, dungeons get real boring. And there's a lot of content on D&D Beyond that talk about, there's a lot of articles, just free articles that have a million different ways that you can run Undermountain. They give you suggestions and pointers on how to run it, how to run story in it, and not just a straight dungeon crawl.
And it depends on your target audience. Like, there are people that want a dungeon crawl. So
there's definitely people out there that do. Although I feel like they talk about there's so many people, and this is touching a little bit on popularity and growth that we're going to do later. But so many people are getting into D&D now from podcasts and from streamers, and all those people are getting into D&D because they want stories and they want to tell a story and participate in a story. And so a lot of those people see a mega dungeon and they're like, well, what good is this to me? And so they're trying to show them how they can run a mega dungeon to be more than just a dungeon crawl. Like, a dungeon could be a whole living ecology. It could be this whole other thing. There could be.
You could have, especially of that size, you could have it be basically equivalent to a world with the same amount of lore.
Right. Yeah. You could run it almost like a city campaign, except everyone is pretty hostile to you. Yeah. So,
I mean, in the middle of between when I was doing testing with my Undermountain, between batch 4 and batch 5, I had a guy who apparently was watching my stream, and he's like, hey, my characters are in Waterdeep. I'm like, going, okay. They have lost all of their money, except for like a few gold pieces. I'm like, okay. one guy said, "Hey, what about that Undermountain? Can you run my guys through Undermountain?" I'm like, "Do you want your characters to live?" And he's like, that up to you.
But
Because it can be taken 1 or 2 ways. And oh god, there's so much in Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I would highly suggest buying it. I mean, I've been on my rant about why I don't like it, but there's more to like than not like.
yeah, in a lot of ways, I think Dungeon of the Mad Mage is Undermountain for the current D&D audience, for the current target audience for D&D, for the people that are coming in now who are new to D&D and coming in from the new like streamings and hooks and that sort of thing. And I think that it's really targeted at them. Not that it doesn't have stuff in there for the older players and nostalgia stuff, but I think a lot of that, like the problems you're having, are just because they kind of wrote it for that new audience.
Well, yeah, because I mean, a lot of these streams are now theater of the mind.
Yeah,
like a lot. I mean, you look at Critical Role; most of that is theater of the mind.
Critical Role, Acting, Dice Camera Action,
and if
all the big ones for the most part.
Yeah. Like if you look at my version of the map, that's almost impossible to theater of the mind.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But if you go to this version, this is a lot friendlier because it's a lot smaller, and they took a lot of the twists and turns out to make theater of the mind work.
Yep.
So again,
I agree.
But yeah, I think we're good with Undermountain. I've said most of my piece. I think I'm good.
Cool. Well, let's move on to Dragon Heist then. So Dragon Heist, the one thing I want to say about it, I don't have a ton to say because I don't run games that often. So Waterdeep, who doesn't love Waterdeep? That's just me. I love it just from playing Neverwinter Nights and stuff like that. So, and I like the one thing I want to touch on. I think Jason will probably touch on it, but I like that they have kind of like a property system that they're kind of working in there. It's not like fully fleshed, I guess, but it's still cool that they have alternative ways to spend your gold instead of just buying magic items.
Well, I'll tell you,
it's kind of a theme they've had, since they started, So.
And I'll tell you, in my game where you guys got the Troll Skull Manor, we just touched on the property stuff just briefly. I narrowed it down a lot. More. Yeah, I cut it down a lot because I didn't want to bog you guys down with all like the little nuances, and we have a bunch of new players in that group. So
yeah. So I don't know that just I like alternative methods of gold usage, especially in the game where they've kind of toned down magic items in the first place. So
yeah.
One thing so Waterdeep Dragon Heist brought up the town system. The way I'm gonna call it is the town system. If you look at Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and then we had Waterdeep Dungeon of the Mad Mage. This opens it up to smaller little campaigns. Like, let's do Daggerford next. Let's do this city. Let's do that city.
Sure.
Let's go to Silvery Moon. Let's just run into it's basically small arcs that they can do. And they really smoothed out a lot of the town hustle and bustle. They added a seasons system that really helped. They actually they didn't give you a calendar, but they helped show you the basics of a calendar. And I mean, I like it. I tried running it. My group fell apart rather hastily. So I'm looking to run it again soon. But yeah, there's a lot of fun that can be had. And I would suggest Dragon Heist because it's a nice starter level 1 to level 5 campaign.
I mean, I agree. I think it's a good starter. It's also, as we were talking about earlier, if you're got into D&D because of any of those podcasts, this is going to be an adventure more like what you're used to seeing on those. there's a lot of role play in it. There's a lot of opportunities for role play. There's a lot of opportunities to solve problems in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I also love. I love everything about it. I love city campaigns. I love heists. Probably my favorite type of D&D adventure is like a good old heist.
Not exactly a heist, I don't.
Yeah,
feel.
I was going to say this wasn't much of a heist.
It can be. Depends on how you run it. There's definitely some options.
Well, it's like somebody already ran the heist. I know I'm looking at it through one way because I haven't read the book. I don't want to spoiler it for our campaign or whatever. But like, the money's already been stolen. I don't understand.
Right.
But
in the actual book though, to get the key, you have to steal the key.
I got you. Okay.
And so basically, it's like think about a classic heist movie where there's a bunch of people all trying to steal the same thing, and they're all like tripping all over each other.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what's going on in the adventure. And I mean, it's not a straight heist. It's not just like a bank, knocking over a bank. But there's a lot of politics. I like the fact that it's got 4 different plot lines depending on which season. Tarnis mentioned earlier they have that seasons mechanic, so you can actually run you can be a player in it multiple times, and if it's different seasons, even if the guy is running it straight from the book, you're gonna get curveballs thrown at you.
Right.
I like the idea that Jarlaxle is a character in there the players can interact with, and even though it's only a 1 to 5 module, Jarlaxle is CR 15.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to fight him, which tells me that the book is designed for you to look for alternate ways to deal with things. It's not just Xanathar is a guy who you can meet in that, and he's a freaking beholder, which are like CR 17, something like that. I can't remember. And they're not, so you're not just supposed to just crash through it all. It's all about politics and subterfuge, and this is what I like from a D&D campaign. This is sort of D&D, and I hope to see more books, not necessarily like Tarnis mentioned, where there's other cities books, but more books like this, more books that have an adventure like this in it.
I think Tarnis, when he was mentioning that, is you can kind of do that on your own. You'd be like, oh, I want to run a Daggerford campaign, and you can use this as a baseline of how to set up the city and stuff like that. That
is another good thing. Is it is beyond all the stuff I mentioned. It is a good just city kit, on how to run Waterdeep, and you could adjust it. You could modify it pretty easily.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I like it.
Cool.
I recommend it for anyone who wants an adventure to run.
Yeah, like Tarnis said, level 1 to 5, so you got a starting out group. It's an easy one to pick up and have content for.
Yeah, and you could probably modify it to any big city you wanted.
Yeah.
So it's pretty. I like it.
Cool deal. You want to say anything else about it, Tarnis, or are you good?
No, I'm good. Like I said, I'm gonna just stand by my words.
Yeah, I got you. All right, well, let's switch on to Tome of Foes, Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes.
I had to reopen the book just to get an idea of the sense again.
Oh yeah. What I did is I got on my D&D Beyond and basically looked at the things you could, how you can look at the purchase options, and I'm like, okay, that's what was in this book, and then I wrote down my notes from there. So let's talk about that a little bit. For me, again, this was another big book that had some player options in it. Obviously, a bunch of new monsters and stuff.
5 or 6 races, I think.
Yeah, had quite a bit of races. So for me,
introduction of the gift.
Yeah, for me, it's one of those things where I really like that it has player options in it. So it's a win for me already, right? So plus all those new monsters, obviously. It's another big one that just had a ton of monsters in it. So
yeah, it follows the Volo pattern.
That's a negative. That was also a negative for me because I don't know how I feel about it, but they reprinted quite a bit of monsters. I don't remember how many it was, 20-something monsters are reprinted, but... Yeah,
they wanted to pull, because those monsters were all in modules.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people don't use modules. They do homebrew or they do whatever, and so those people would have to buy 4 books to get those 20 monsters. Or you want to use a lot of what they reprinted were the Demon Lords, and those are only in one module, and you're like, it's handy to have the stats for a Demon Lord, even if you're not gonna, Demon Prince, even if you're not gonna run that module. So it's just a lot better bang for your buck for most DMs than buying 4 modules that you may or may not run. So while I agree that reprinted content is not the best, I think it was a good call.
The one thing I did read though is this could have been a good change or a bad change, but the reprinted Demon Princes aren't nearly as good as they are in the actual module. Apparently, they were nerfed. They've been nerfed. So
did they? I haven't compared them, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I got you.
That's a little disappointing, but maybe they wanted to be more useful. The problem is that like those really powerful monsters, there's only so much use for them. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
I'm going to give you 2 sides here. I'm going to give you the paper book side, and I'm going to give you the digital side. Paper book side, all the monsters are in the book, love it. Digital side, I would have had to pirate the book or download the princes of whatever, all these other books, the Storm, Thunder King, whatever,
all the adventures,
all these adventures just to get those monsters.
So the Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, when you bought it through D&D Beyond, didn't have the reprints?
No. I'm doing it through Roll20.
Okay, yep, and that's something I want to talk about too under successes and stuff. But go ahead and continue for this specifically.
For Roll20, we had the whole. You have the compendium, which is the SRD, and then they just brought up that you can buy the PHB, which brings in all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you buy Volo's Guide, the Monster Manual, and now the Tome of Foes, it adds more monsters that are literally just drag and drop.
Which is awesome.
Instead of typing all these monster stats up, finding the correct token for it, it's literally just drag and drop.
Yeah.
And as a DM who has, again, Undermountain, I have 3,000 different percentile chances of, look, this monster dropped. Let me just pull this and drag him down and kill it.
Right.
Just being able to pull from just a random list is just amazing.
Yeah.
That sucks on the Roll20 side. So
I also like like you mentioned, the player races are real good. Give Yankee, Gives Rai, classic. Been in the game since first edition. Classic edition, pretty good mechanically.
They brought back to Eldrin.
Yeah, right? Eldrin I like. I'm a big fan of them. I know they came out in 4th E and they're kind of that, but they created really good, even though they're not Fae, they created a really good Fae, theme. Adjacent race, yeah. And then they got the Shadowcar, the
Shadow ones from the Raven Queen.
And I even like their mechanics because they sort of mirror each other like that, which is cool.
Yeah.
And then I think they reprinted Snurf Niblin, Deep Gnomes in there, if I remember correctly, which were originally printed in the Elemental Evil Player's Guide, which was only digital or print on demand, so a lot of people just don't have it. So it's probably a good thing they reprinted them in there. That's probably that. But I really liked all the fluff they have in the beginning, where they outlined the Blood War and the Gith Yankee Wars and the Dwarven creation myth history. That's all really cool stuff, especially for people who maybe are new to D&D. Like the Blood War is a big thing, and you don't hear about a lot of that outside of Planescape. And there's not a Planescape book. Also, I know before this came out, there was a lot of people complaining that the game was very Forgotten Realms centric. And this kind of pulls away from that because it gives you, the Blood War is something that exists on all planes. The Gith Yankee racial war is something that exists on all planes. These are all things that are out there. So I like the book overall. I think it was a good addition. Also, as someone who actually likes to run campaigns that get over 12th and 15th level, it's nice to have the new monsters they add that were high-level monsters.
Yeah, sure.
So it's nice to have that. Also, they add some of the old-school classics that aren't necessarily classical monsters, but they're classical D&D monsters. like the flail snail and the frog hemoth
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That you know they're weird, wacky D&D monsters that old school players are really like they remember them, but like a lot of people because they're not like a minotaur or a griffin or something. They're something that was unique to D&D once upon a time.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a fan.
I like the book. I think it was worth a grab, especially if you need those monsters and the extra player stuff.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a Volo, along the same lines as far as format, I guess. So
yeah, good stuff.
Pretty good. I liked it. Now we get into a more interesting one because it didn't have a physical release. We don't
Not
know.
yet.
Well, and if they have a physical release, it's contemplated that it's going to be print on demand. Which haven't you bought one of their print on demands, right?
Yeah, so they don't do a lot of print on demands. I know we're gonna touch on this later, but it's actually one of my disappointments with them is that you can't get PDFs of a lot of their books and you can't get print on demands of some of the stuff. But I bought the Elemental Evils player guide that was print on demand, and it's pretty decent quality, although it's kind of a thin little floppy book, but it's all right.
Well, so this one that we're talking about is Wayfinder's Guide to Eberron, which obviously is not a physical book, and it's what they're calling like a living document thing. So
yeah, supposedly, and I haven't checked to watch it. Supposedly, if you buy it, as it's playtest and as they get feedback, they will update it, and the copy that you can go download will be updated, so you won't have to keep rebuying it. So that's kind of cool. Also, the idea of an extended playtest, in theory, should create a better end product, right? Like if they get a bunch of feedback and whatnot.
I like Tarnis in the background. All right, hold on. Let's structure it real quick. Let's do some likes real fast. Again. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to hear Jason. It was either you or Harvey, might have been, who said with the playtest, because they tested it in the Adventurers League, they basically shit on their people.
Yeah, that was me. I didn't use those exact words, but they because of what they've done to Adventurers League, it kind of going to hurt their playtest because they really alienated a bunch of their players, and so they had this really good player base, right? And a lot of people were chomping at the bit for Eberron, and Eberron was opened up for Season 8. It was opened up on Adventure League, like people could start running Eberron Adventures, so they were set up to get all this really good feedback for Wayfarer's Guide. And then they changed the rules for Adventure League, and they alienated a bunch of players, and so now they're not set up to get all that good feedback. So I'm wondering, how that's going to turn out, because that's a little weird.
I gotcha.
I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're fine. No,
I just remembered that little segue.
It's a back and forth. I'm in. So the pros for me is obviously it's Eberron, right? So you're going to get all the player options there, the races and all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. Again, I've said it 3 times now. Player options are always a thing for me. If that's in the book, I'm probably down. What I think you wanted to touch on some race stuff too, Jason.
Yeah, so Warforged are one of those like new classics, right? They're not a classic part of the game, but they're one of those things just like the Dragonborn. It boggles my mind. It took them till the end of 3.5, and it took them till 4th edition to put them in the player's handbook to just have a dragon person race, like a race that were dragon people. But not playable, not until 3.5. That's what I mean. Like everyone that I swear, like half the players that I set down to teach D&D, that's the first thing they want to write up as a dragon person. And until the end of 3.5, it wasn't really a thing. Also,
it wasn't feasible. It wasn't practical. Yeah.
Also, until 3rd edition, kobolds were dogmen. So
yeah, that's true.
And so Warforged is the same way. It's one of those things that tons of players over my history wanted to play. They want to play a golem, but obviously golems are problematic. So it's one of those things that Eberron came out with, and they're good and they're very popular. So it's very nice to see some official support for those. Sure. As a player race. People love them. Their stats I'm a little like here or there on because we'll see. But we'll see how they are in the final version.
Yep.
You know, it's all up in the air now. But I'm just glad that the Warforged are back because they're really in there. And I think you mentioned, I don't know if you want to touch on dislikes, but you mentioned not liking the dragon marks as racials.
Well, so dislikes for me, the one thing is the dragon marks they did implement them, but they are sub races. So each dragon mark is a sub race, and I mean I think from a mechanic standpoint, I feel like that's probably a good way to balance it, like especially with some of the powers they have. I guess that makes sense, but
they have some good powers.
But it really limits you at that point on what you can play. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Well, if you remember, dragon marks only appear on certain races.
Right.
And if you, so I know we used a lot of dragon marks on our homebrew game as just like a cool, magic ability thing.
Sure.
And so it certainly stops that, which is kind of a little annoying. But I feel like if you look at like Keith Baker's blog, the original writer of Eberron, you do some of the other stuff. When you play someone who's part of one of the houses, your identity is supposed to be more of that house than is anything else. You're a member of that house. So I think even thematically, that's
better. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's better, but I think it's what they intend. Does that make sense? Like, I think that's what they really want is they're like, look, you're not just a half elf. You're this particular type of half elf.
Right. It's like that's your new family.
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera. Gotcha. Yeah. Cool. So I didn't particularly like that, but I also don't think that's necessarily. It's a dislike for me, but I think it's probably a good way to go. So
yeah, I like it. It's really good. I'll tell you, there's some of them are really good, and some of them are not. And that is something that gets worked out in playtesting.
Yeah.
My only dislike of the book is a lot of the abilities they have there theoretically push the bounded accuracy of the game. Bounded accuracy is a big core concept in 5e, and some of these things just add flat bonuses to skills that will stack with everything that already exists in the game, and so theoretically allow you to hit new theoretical maximum numbers. And it's not a lot. Like, we're talking 2 or 3 points here and there, so it's not huge, but it is numbers inflation, and coming from having played Pathfinder in 3.5, I'm very wary of numbers inflation because, by the end of Pathfinder, by the end of 3.5, we're hitting DC 80 skill checks and like getting ACs in the 50s and stuff. And it just kind of gets ridiculous. And it may just be a knee jerk reaction on my part, a little worrisome, but that's the only thing that I didn't like about what I saw.
Well, and that leads into my dislike as well, since it is in theory official content, right? Because they have it up there, but since it's a living document, DMs are a little hesitant on, allowing certain things because they're not 100% sure if it's really balanced. And so, like, a DM, it's a DM's prerogative on any content, but at least you have more of a leg to stand on when the content has been officially, quote unquote, play tested and it's out there. Whereas right now, the Guide to Eberron is really still being play tested. It's a weird UA, but like
not.
Yeah, so I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like this option. It's cool that they're experimenting, so it's like they want the feedback from the players and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's cool, but
it definitely puts it in a weird place. Also, like, to be honest with you, to find out most about what it is, I had to go to Twitter, which is a little annoying. Like what's the official sign on this? And like I was reading Mike Merle's and Jeremy Crawford's Twitter about like, oh, that, and like,
yeah, because it wasn't even labeled as UA. It was just like there.
Oh,
yeah.
And that's how you find out. Like, supposedly, I would like to go track down the tweet, but I can't find it. That when it's done, they will have a hardback release. Also, supposedly, when it's done, it'll have the Artificer subclass.
Yeah, I had that in my list. Now, will they follow up on that? Like, will that actually happen? That's the question of the day for that one.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. It's also cool to note that one of the big contributors to the Wayfarer's Guide to Eberron is he's a big fan guy. He's the guy who runs one of the people that runs Maze Arcana. which is a big Eberron. Well, originally was a big Eberron podcast. Now it's, there's tons of stuff. I'm trying to remember his name. And so he was a big fan, and he's done a lot of stuff in the community. And now, he's getting to write the book for the,
5th edition.
For Eberron in 5th edition.
Yeah.
I think his name is. I was going to see if I can find it real quick.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's good.
But now Mage Arcana does Sirens of the Realm. It does all this stuff, man. It's huge. That's also where Satine Phoenix got her big start, and now she's the freaking community manager for D&D. So
yeah.
I mean, that's all crazy.
That's cool.
Rudy Rutenberg, that's his name, and he did all that big stuff, and then he got to help write with Keith Baker, the Eberron. So it's just neat to see that kind of stuff come out.
Yeah, especially seeing them pull people from the community that have a lot of passion. So
yeah,
I'm with Tarnis on this a little bit. There's no physical copy. Although to be honest with you, I shouldn't be, because I don't own any physical copies of the books these days, except for I have the core books. I have the players, the DMG, and the monsters. But all my other books are owned online, which we'll talk about that as well later. I'm not 100% sold on it being like this hybrid UA official evolving playtest thing.
Not only that, it's a paid playtest. You're paying $20 to playtest. This is an early access.
Well, yeah, but
right, but
when it's out, you get it. So you're paying $20 either way. So it's just you're getting it early. It's just like buying a game and playing it early, So
yeah, I mean you'll get the end thing. We'll see how it all.
You know me, Tarnis. You know me. I've lost hundreds of dollars just buying games, playing them in the playtest, and going, "All right, that was awesome. I'm never playing this again."
How many of those codes did you buy?
That was a lot of codes.
We'll see how it all washes out in the end. If in the end it all works out, then I'm there for it.
Yeah, it's an unproven test at this point. It could work out, and it may be an awesome thing, but I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
So, So that's that for me. Anybody else want to say anything? Cool. So let's move on to the next part of this podcast, where we want to talk a little bit about how 5e's grown, become very popular, and really, to be honest with you, kind of a mainstream thing these days.
I mean, you had what's his name on the Colbert Report rolling D20s. So
in general, I feel like a lot of nerd culture is becoming more mainstream, obviously, but just it's nice to see D&D as a whole grow, and I think this is like one of their best releases, our best editions as far as popularity is concerned. With how many people are playing this thing, so. Where I wanted to touch on some successes, or what we thought were successes, some things that we think are failures with 5th edition, and how they're handling things, stuff like that. So does anybody want to start? Or I can start, I don't care.
I'll have you start.
So let's start with the successes first. The first one I have in the list is accessibility. And for me, what that means is the rule set, like how easy it is to kind of pick up and play,
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, but they intentionally, at least I feel, made the game a lot lower numbers, right? So that's one aspect. And they kind of simplified the rules overall, I feel. And I think that makes it a lot easier game to play,
Yeah, I don't even necessarily think it's about simplifying the rules, although it'd be hard to say the rules aren't simpler, but I feel like the rules are really powerful in what they allow you to do. Like I said in the beginning, I think this is probably the best version of D&D, having played almost all of them and having played second edition.
Hey, we played original too, just at the con, only a few times,
and having played second edition and up extensively, I still like this is the best because I feel like it has the streamlined speed of some of the older, simpler versions, but yet I haven't had run into the wall that you hit with like second edition, where like you want to make this character concept and you want to be mechanically significant, but when you do so, you suck. Like every character concept I want to make, there's more or less a way to do it, and I feel like almost all characters are valid in the game in multiple aspects, like not just like, oh, they're only good at combat or all that. Like I feel like the system is really powerful, and I think that not only does it make it accessible, like Pyro said, where you can sit down, because David, I mean, we've taught 2 or 3 brand new players, and they get into it without trouble. But not only that, but they can sit down, they can play it, and they can feel like they're contributing. There's no longer that bard in the back who doesn't do anything and is like, oh, I don't really do anything for the game. Like everybody does stuff, everybody contributes to multiple aspects of the game, and so everyone feels like they're really playing the game.
Yeah,
I think that's very good, and I mean, it's a tricky thing to do, but they seem to have pulled it off.
Cool. Anything you want to say about accessibility, Tarnis?
So my background, I am a teacher of games. I've grown up for demo team for fantasy game, Wizards of the Coast. This has been the easiest edition to teach, just hands down.
Sure.
And I mean, I've been able to actually teach quite a few different groups. Like I've taught my best friend 5th edition. I probably would not have been able to teach him the rules bloat and here's 27 books. Quick, make a character really quick.
True that.
But I mean, this edition has been, I feel, the easiest to pick up.
Sure.
And the fact that they're not shoving 1 million books down your throat at the current time is very good.
True. Yeah.
Well,
and like required books, and in my opinion, like they really effed it in 4th edition, which we don't really talk about that much. But like when you start splitting the player's handbook into like
PHP
3 of them, because
to PHP 3,
and you're missing like what I feel like, maybe not everybody feels this, but when you're missing like core classes out of the player's handbook and reselling it in a different book, it's just you're going too far. So
they took out some of the traditional core classes and
Sure.
added other ones.
Sure. Yeah.
And then they released it. The problem is that if you're a brand new player, you may not care.
Yeah,
But if you're a
makes no
returning
difference.
player, like, where's my favorite class? Oh, you have to wait 6 months till we release the next one.
what do you mean
Yeah.
the gnome isn't a classic? What?
Yeah. So I agree, and like Tarnis said, they're not releasing tons of books. They've had a fairly slow expansion, and they're focusing more on modules, which means that the game should have a longer life cycle. It's focusing on modules and adventures, and they're focusing on growing the community, which I think is a really big deal.
Yeah.
And I think you have that somewhere down here, but just that huge.
Yeah, the streaming stuff. I actually didn't. I think I was gonna put it in there and didn't. But
I mean, that's just such a huge thing, and it brings in so many people. And Adventure League was a big part of that, and I'll touch more on that in failures. But for Season 8, Adventure League was huge because people would see streaming, and they show up at comic book stores or gaming stores. They get an Adventure League, they play it, and they do it. Like, I looked it up. Currently, the Player's Handbook on Amazon is the 68th most popular book, period, which isn't super high, but I think it was only like 2 years ago that it was the most popular selling fiction book on Amazon, and it is the #1 book in puzzles and games.
Yeah.
So I mean, people are still buying those books. People are still getting into it. So I think they've really focused on, instead of trying to sell their niche audience 1 million books, trying to sell more people the same books.
Right.
Get more people into it, and it's worked out pretty well for them so far. We'll see how it goes in the future.
So the next thing I have on my list of successes, and again, this is my opinion. I use it a ton, so this is going to be a thing. I love their D&D Beyond. I love the fact that they have a functional tool. Because before 5th edition, we played Pathfinder or 3.5. I was using third-party apps and buying their stuff to create characters and like use it for character management and all that kind of thing. And I feel like they finally tapped into that and kind of made an official thing, and I think it works really well. And again, before we go too far, we have some negatives for this stuff too, because there is some drawbacks here I'll touch on as well. But I think for the fact that they have like an quote unquote official, I know they don't. It's made by like, who is it?
It's technically which I think you call a second party product.
Yeah. So
it's licensed by, it's not just licensed by Wizards, but it's like made in conjunction with Wizards, but it's technically managed and I think developed by this other company.
Curse and Twitch. It's like Amazon. Everybody has their hand in it in different spots. So, but I like the fact that I can buy the content on D&D Beyond, like all the books, and I can share that with my players. So if I'm DMing a game, I can just be like, hey, create your character here. You have access to all the books, which is really cool.
That is a really nice feature, and it helps make up a little bit for the fact that everything is full price.
Yeah, everything is full price. Yeah,
you basically have to buy the book twice.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, David just buys them once, but I like having physical copies of the books.
Well, and so let's just get into that real quick. It's on the negative side, which I have is multiple purchases. Not only do you have to buy it twice, Tarnis, but also if you want Roll20, you have to buy it 3 times. So it's one of those things that's one thing I wish they would work on, at least in my opinion. And I'm sure everybody wants a piece of the pie, and so there's some licensing thing there, I'm sure. But I feel like, I wish there was a way where they had it. If you bought it on Roll20 or D&D Beyond, they would work together somehow. Because having to buy that digital copy twice, I realize on Roll20 they're doing more work. Like, they're putting in more, they're making the maps and all the creatures and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, okay, up my cost and give it to me on both, but don't make me pay double the price on my virtual purchases, Yeah,
I do not do D&D Beyond.
Yeah.
And that is because I don't want to get raped out of the wallet with the 3 purchases of the same book.
There's D&D Beyond is a really good product. It's searchable. You can create all that stuff, and like you said, do it. I really like it. But the fact that it's a full price for a book, I mean, it's rough. Now, one thing I will say about it is I watch a lot of streamers and stuff like that, and there are tons of coupons for D&D Beyond out there all the time. Like I just saw one that was 25% off the Legendary Bundle, which I think is everything.
It's everything. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so 25% off is of everything. I mean, probably pretty good. I don't know, but it is kind of annoying. Also, it's annoying that there's no way to just get a soft copy of the book. Like, if I just want a PDF of the book, they don't actually sell that anywhere.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of friends that they might like D&D Beyond, but they just want a PDF that they can load onto their, e-reader or their phone or whatever and just read the actual book like the book, but the PDF. And that was a big thing that Paizo did, is their PDFs were only like $10 or $15, which is a significant discount. Now it's just a PDF, so it's not a lot of work, and D&D Beyond has development and update and maintenance and all that stuff. So I get why they charge money, and I don't know what their profit margins on there, but it is rough. If I want the convenience of D&D Beyond and the physical book, I more or less am getting charged double.
Yeah.
I would hope there'd be some sort of discount, or heck, give me a discount code on the back of the book or something like that, where I can.
Yeah.
Where if I bought the book, you'll give me a discount. I don't know. I
those
feel
are
like
all things that would be nice. Yeah. So. Well, so that's D&D Beyond. Let's talk about the streaming thing before we forget about it. And I don't know what category you put that under, but the fact that they're streaming these games and having tons of people watch it. Just for the amount of exposure,
viewers for Critical Role on a regular basis.
It's crazy.
And then you just have even the smaller ones, like we have Critical Role, we had Acquisitions Inc., which started completely separate as just a comic on a popular webcomic and just all these different things.
Sure.
When you get dedicated fans who are basically making you free content and free marketing, yeah, you're doing a good job. But you need to make something that is likable, and D&D is that specifically.
Well, they've done a lot to reach out to the community and to make it accessible. I also know that the new Wizards is doing a huge push for diversity. And you can tell that in a lot of their streams. There's a lot of women, women-focused streams out there as well. If you go to Twitch and look at their D&D channel, just look at their lineup. There's just a million streams, every possible version of D&D that you can think of. People are playing out there. It's crazy, and I feel like it's paying off for them. I feel like it's bringing in people who want to play, and it's working. But it's just crazy to see how it is.
Yeah, for sure. I really like also the Sage Advice. Now I know Sage Advice isn't necessarily a anything official, is it, Jason? It's mostly.
It depends on what you say. So Sage Advice is a thing posted on their site, and that is official.
Right.
There is a Twitter account called Sage Advice that reposts Jeremy Crawford's tweets. If you're looking at Twitter, Jeremy Crawford's tweets, not even Mike Morrell's tweets are official rules calls. Jeremy Crawford's tweets are the official rules call on how something's supposed to work. But then there's a Sage Advice FAQ that gets posted on their site, and that is just a collection of it.
Yeah.
Of basically the rules calls he's made. And it changes sometimes, like he's talked about. Sometimes they'll go back and be like, well, we think it should probably work like this. And, Crawford is very open about the fact that this is just our intention. This is by no means how you are supposed to, you have to play. It's what we intended when we wrote the rule, or sometimes how we think it works best. But, I mean, if you read his tweets, he's always like, but you know what? Do whatever works in your game. And sometimes people even ask, hey, on Sage Advice, they'll ask Crawford, what's the rules call on this? And they'll tell him, and they're like, well, would it be broken if we did it this way? And a lot of times he doesn't respond because he gets a billion tweets. But sometimes he responds it's not what we intended, but it probably wouldn't break anything in the game that way. And, so it does another thing, too. It's amazing how active people like Crawford and Merles and some of the other people are on social media, interact with them and stuff, It really, I think, probably helps the community. Also, it settles those old arguments, because I remember back in the day, people would just argue for years. And now you can be like, well, this is what's intended. And then once you know what's intended, your DM can make a call about.
And how forums are. Everybody is fucking toxic as hell, and they're like, well, I think it takes 7 feet to properly wield a table leg. So fuck you. And so, I'm glad that they're really open about the rules car. That is exactly how I sound, Beardsley. Every time they talk, those assholes.
That was always the joke in 3.5 was if you want to do something that isn't explicitly written in the rules, it's going to take 2 feet and provoke an attack of opportunity.
So anyways, so I like that they're really open about that. It's kind of more accessible for rule calls and stuff like that.
Even if I don't like the rules call, I really like to know what the design team intention was, what did they intend when they designed that, when they wrote that rule. And then it makes me better informed if I'm going to say, well, that's dumb, I'm going to do something else, or oh yeah, that makes sense.
Let's move on to Roll20 partnership. Tarnis touched on this a little bit, the fact that they bring all that content into Roll20, just mentioning what Tarnis mentioned earlier, just having the monsters pre-done for you and drag and droppable onto the scene, and you can click the links to roll the damage and to hit, all that stuff just makes it 10 times easier to get a game ready and going, and I think that's amazing. You definitely pay for it. I mean, that is a thing, but I think it's really cool. Tarnis, I think you probably have a good amount of info on this as well. So,
Roll20 is doing really good, despite the kerfuffle that happened a few months ago on Reddit. But we won't go into that specifically right now. There are 2 things that I know of. There's Fantasy Grounds and there's Roll20 for mappable D&D.
Mm-hmm.
And my draw to Roll20 was the pro subscription parts, which are dynamic lighting, things like that. And especially since, because I do Undermountain, you adding dynamic lighting to a dungeon just makes it like that much more immersive.
That dynamic lighting is, we use that, and it's one of the first times that, like, you know, a lot of times when you're playing like dungeon crawling, like who has dark vision and who doesn't kind of gets rolled in the table.
It's kind of muddled.
It's kind of muddled, but that dynamic lighting is just amazing for that, because you'll be moving through and you only see something and someone else won't, or when you go around a blind corner only you see it. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. I've had multiple groups where one guy's like, "Ooh, what's this light around the corner?" And he walks around the corner, and just everyone's just like, "What do you see?" And you just hear him crying over the. It's like, just like, what is it? He's like, "It's bad."
So
looking at me.
I love that dynamic lighting. It's a feature you're like, is that really a big deal? But man, it really does make dungeon crawling all that more interesting.
It's cool. It's a chore to put together, but guess what? If you
God.
buy the modules on Roll20, it's already done for you.
That to me is how it makes it worth it at all. Like, because someone had to do all that, but I guess they just clone it once the first guys.
Oh my God! I'm sorry. Making under, I've had to draw it once in GIMP just to make the time.
Then you had to trace all them walls in there.
Again, and you have to trace all the walls and all the secret doors and all that shit. Oh my God.
Yeah. But anyways, so I think that
worth it though.
Them doing that is awesome. You know, having all that content there that's accessible for DMs. You know, I bought Prince of the Apocalypse on Roll20 just so I could have the whole module ready and and going. So you know, it's pretty cool. You know, it's one of those things. So again, another negative there with the multiple purchases where I have to buy it 3 times if I want it everywhere. But you know, I realize a lot of time and effort's put in on those Roll20 ones. So
and yet again, a lot of it has to do with the fact it's a separate company and they got to pay a license fee, and then they got to also pay maintenance and upkeep and all that other stuff. Especially since Roll20's basic product is free. So
yeah, which is great. That's another reason why Roll20 is so nice, is I can have my pro license and then just all my players can pop in and play, you know. So.
Yeah, by the way, Pyro, the next thing, I sent you 2 Amazon, and that's what I think of the next one.
Oh God, you sent me 2 what?
I sent you 2 Amazon links.
Oh boy. Oh yeah. Those are the books that are releasing, right? So
yep.
So I just wanted to point out one thing. I consider a success, okay? Because you're basically grooming your next line of role players. Is they started coming out with children's books, like, you know, and Tarnis linked them for me, so I'll pop them up. But the ABC Dungeons and Dragons and 1-2-3 Dungeons and Dragons children books. That's just really cool to me, because basically you're like, hey children, look at our drugs. Would you like some drugs, children? Here you go. My comment here is get them hooked early, you know. So
like F is for Fireball.
Yeah. Like it's amazing to me. Here you go. I mean, you can't. I wonder, can you preview these? That'd be awesome. Doesn't look like it, but it's still cool. It's one of those things. You know, it's just neat. A is for adventure. Like, I don't know. V is for book. C is for creatures. It's just, I don't know. Like, I want to buy these books. I think my youngest will still get some use out of them. But if I had no kids, I'd probably still buy these books because it seems really neat to me. It's just one of those really cool things that I think they're doing right. You know, they're kind of expanding their horizons as far as they're not just making content for their current, you know, player base, you know. So I just think it's neat, and I think that's a success in my eyes. So I definitely am going to purchase these when they finally. I guess 1-2-3 is already out, but ABC, it's also out. They're both out, so I need to pick them up. I'm just like talking about buying them, and I haven't done it. So anyway, so I don't know. That's really cool to me. So. All right, cool. Well, we're good on that, right? Anybody else want to talk about any other successes?
No.
Okay. And then failures. You know, to be honest with you, I always consider this a failure, because almost always it's never good enough to me. Their SRD, particularly this one, is terrible in my opinion, but I feel like almost always the SRD is terrible. The only edition that had an awesome SRD, Pathfinder.
Well, that's because everything was free in Pathfinder.
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
all mechanical content was free, which was great until you start searching through it and your players would show up with a feat and you're like, where did this feat come from?
Right.
So is this third party? Nope, it's legitimate. You're like, wow.
So, but and my thing with SRD is, like, if you're gonna release our SRD, at least my opinion, or at least what I think would be nice, is just release the player's handbook digital, and that's your SRD. Like, just let people players have access to the starter content that you release. You're still gonna make money. People are still gonna buy the core book. I mean, people buy it for hard copy. You know,
most people are.
Yeah, SRD comes with an OG.
And I just don't think that I agree that the current SRD, and it's gotten better, because I remember when we first did 5e, I downloaded the SRD just to look at it. Mm-hmm. It didn't have Eldritch Blast. Like, you look at the Warlock, and the evocations for the Warlock in the SRD would modify Eldritch Blast, but Eldritch Blast wasn't actually in the SRD originally. Yeah. Now, since then, they've updated it, and the newest version has more content, but still, I think it only has like one subclass per class on there.
You got one background, although backgrounds you can make on your own, but you still only have one background. It's like, it's just,
it's just real limited, and I feel like they could do a lot better, especially now that they have a lot of other content. I agree, like, give us all the player's handbook stuff.
Yeah.
And then, you don't have to give me everything, but at least that way when I'm getting a new player and I'm like, look, here's the SRD, and that goes, or at least give it, like, even if you don't want to give us all the subclasses, at least give us a couple from each class, because...
Yeah. Well, and, you get the player's handbook, not that the player's handbook has a ton of fluff, but SRD obviously is going to be fluff-free as well. So people may want to buy that book just to get all the fluff, too. Yeah, and so, like, that stuff is still why you buy it, So, anyways, that's the failure for me there. The multiple purchases we touched on. Y'all have anything else on failures, you think?
No, I think that's it.
Normally we do gaming news, but it's already midnight. Do y'all want to skip it?
I don't think I have anything to add to any of this gaming news.
So we can just kind of glance over it real quick. Yeah. Fallout, everybody. So, okay, first of all, that's the D&D stuff. Thank you guys for sitting with us and listening about the D&D stuff. I know it's not our normal thing, but we all play D&D and love it, and so I just wanted to have a podcast kind of going over that kind of stuff. Just it's fun for all of us. So we're gonna do our gaming news section real quick, but it's gonna be pretty quick. I'm just gonna touch on some stuff. We definitely talked about how Beardsley, thank you for the constant bits. Anyways, we're talking about people don't like Fallout 76, and to give them more reason for not liking them, I'm sure you guys have read the news about how the collector's edition duffel bag was basically a what was it, like it's a
nylon,
like a nylon parachute looking sack. It was pretty pathetic.
It's like something you'd be given at a con,
right? Like a cheap, like maybe $5 bag is what it was.
Some corporate like logo stenciled on it, at a swag at a convention or something like that. It was not.
And they, like, in the collector's edition, it showed like a nice looking canvas bag, so
it was pretty cool.
Really shitty. Originally, Bethesda said, "Suck it." Then they were like, "Hey, you know what though? We'll give you a $5 credit," which seemed terrible. In their game, 76, a $5 credit in 76.
Which okay, the best comment I saw was, which doesn't even get you a canvas bag in game.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's terrible. But I guess they've decided that they're going to be making that canvas bag. Yeah. So
that's what I've heard. I don't know.
So
yeah, it's actually just officially posted on Twitter by Bethesda support.
So they're turning around, but I'm sure a lot of people bitched before then. So I mean, it was bad. It's a bad move on their part overall. It just wasn't. It was a whole bad thing. So.
Well, Bethesda's kind of asleep at the wheel right now. So.
Don't fix a bug, fix the bag. Yeah. So then Tarnis, I'm not the Just Cause thing. I'll let you touch on that.
Just Cause 4 just came out or is in alpha or whatever. And I don't know if you ever heard of the game Getting Over It.
Mm.
A guy is in a cauldron with a pickaxe.
Yep.
And
it's like notoriously hard, difficult game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, if you climb this mountain and you have this grapple hook, if you grapple hook onto this cauldron and pick, you can actually play in Just Cause 4 using Just Cause 4's engine, Getting Over It.
That's awesome.
And it is narrated by the guy who created Getting Over It.
That's cool. That's a neat Easter egg. Like, I like it when they have games in games. It's so neat. So that's a pretty cool one. Big one. This is actually pretty big news. With Epic launching their Steam alternative. The biggest thing about this, and I've been like down on having extra clients, but the biggest thing about this is Epic's taking a significant amount less from the developers. It's like what is it, 18% as opposed to Steam's 30% per sale. So that's like 12%, I believe.
And not only that, there was a bug in Valve's coding a while back that they were taking 50% from the indie developers.
Quote unquote bug. Yeah. Anyways, and so hey, alternative. I don't know if I'm going to use it. I'm going to try it out probably because I feel like helping the developers is good, but at least it's going to hopefully bring some much needed competition to Steam, because I love Steam. I use the shit out of it. All my games are on there, but yeah, they kind of have the market in theory on these
here's
things.
The small problem: it's splitting the player base.
Server wise, because you know how you can like make a Steam server. So in theory,
multiplayers going to play this over here, and you have it on there.
Well, that shouldn't matter if you're like doing servers as far as like if I make my own Conan Exile server, you're going to be able to play from either side. But the bigger issue is if you have like hosted servers on Steam or on Epic, then yeah, you're splitting your player base. So
but a lot of those games connect you to the company server.
Yeah,
though, right?
yeah. So I mean, you're not going to be splitting it in a lot of cases, but there are some cases where it can be splitting the player base. So, and also like seeing who's online well is just going to be a pain in the ass now because you need both clients open and like who has the game where. You're like, damn it.
You know what works out is Discord because it can show you who's playing what where.
That's right. I love my Discord, so I'm in. Anyway, so that's a big thing. Epic launching their alternative, so we'll see how that goes. I wanted to mention the hacked printers for PewDiePie just because it was awesome. Our office printer is open to the internet and was one of the printers that got hacked.
I just want to know.
I just want to know why this came up.
I just want to know why our printer has a public static IP.
Because our whole network is public static.
Right.
Our entire network is that way. Because Dad is weird, okay? We don't need to discuss this. This isn't a podcast about how weird my father is. It's just a podcast about games, okay? Anyways, it was funny. And it's also... The guy did it... he hacked printers, yes, but he didn't do anything terribly malicious, and he wanted
to hack them, or did you just say print job to him?
He wanted to bring awareness that hey, like this is not secure. Like he puts it in the message. He's like, subscribe to PewDiePie, blah blah blah. But listen, your printer is getting hacked. Like fix it, So it was still had like a good message with it. It was funny because PewDiePie definitely was like, "Hey, this is cool, but guys, don't break any laws trying to keep me on top." You know, he's like, "I already get enough bad press. I don't need any more." So I just thought it was interesting. I threw it in there because one of our printers got hacked. It was awesome. So, and then the last thing I have on there, without you guys adding whatever, Pokemon Go's finally adding trainer battles, which is awesome in my opinion. Maybe I've been playing it a lot lately just because I've been playing a lot of Let's Go, but that's cool. It makes that phone app a little bit more of a complete Pokemon experience, in my opinion. I mean, you're still no trainers or anything like that, but you know, it's kind of neat that you're gonna be able to challenge your friends and verse each other. So, just kind of a neat thing to look back on. So, did you guys have any news or anything you want to talk about, or
Path of Exile Betrayal
on the 7th?
Yep.
Right? And also that's the same time Smash comes out, so that'll be some stuff we'll probably talk about next podcast. So that's cool. Anything you want to say, Jason, on news or anything?
Excited about Smash.
Yep, Smash.
Excited about more D&D.
More D&D. Cool. Our next podcast. Go ahead, Tarnis.
$12,000-$16,000 PUBG tournament.
What?
The 12-16 Kovix.
Oh, yeah, that's N8. Do you have a link for that? Can you get me a link real quick?
There is no link until
He doesn't have
tomorrow.
anything up yet. Okay, so y'all are gonna have to look or check with N8 Entertainment on Twitter. I don't know what his Twitter is either. I wish I had that info. But they're doing a tournament on 12/16, $1,000 cash prize, streamer tournament. So one of the two partners have to stream. But that's a pretty good cash prize for a. I'm not saying like it's a throwaway tournament, but it's a low key tournament, right? You're not gonna probably have like huge.
First place is gonna get like $350, and it's gonna like go places, and of course there's like grab bag prizes too. Like our team ended up winning one.
Yeah, and they have little prizes like that, which is cool. So. Keep an eye out for that. If you follow N8 or Kovic or me, I'll get some more info and post it a couple times. Probably Tarnis as well. We'll try to get you some more information if you're interested in that type of thing. And the YouTube video, if you're watching this on YouTube, like tomorrow or whatever, I'll have that info down in the description too. Anyways, so check that out. That'll be cool if you love PUBG. So, for the streamer of this podcast, I want to just throw out a new streamer that just recently got started, but has been very active in the community, especially if you watch Jimbo in Jimbo's stream, and that's Hershey Crisp, which I think might be here tonight.
I saw him post earlier.
Yeah, so if you guys want to go over to his channel and follow. He's just getting started, so he's small right now, but really cool guy. You guys need to check them out and maybe give him a follow. Check out their content and stuff. I don't think he has an official schedule yet, but he's getting into the streaming stuff, and I'd be really appreciative if you guys just go check him out and give him a chance. Really cool guy for the community, so just check them out. So. That I think is gonna finish us off. I will say that our next podcast is in a couple of weeks. It's the end of the year podcast. I have 3 podcasts that week. We're gonna have one with our regular crew, one with what I like to call the C Team crew, which is the console guys, and one with my guest podcasters. So like those of you who watch Jimbo, Kovic, or Scholarly Gamer, we're going to have our end of the year. We're going to be talking about our favorite games of the year, favorite games coming up 2019, stuff like that. So come back by. That's going to be a lot of podcast in a couple of weeks. So come check us out then for that. 3 podcasts that week. So I'll see you guys Thursday for me. I'll be streaming something. I think we might be playing Star Citizen again. Tarnis, you stream in the mornings, right?
Yeah, gonna be streaming in about 7 hours.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry, it was a late one. It was a long one. It's kind of like our E3 one. Just took a while.
Yeah, I think this is our longest one.
Yeah, so, but Tarnis streams in the mornings if you're interested. And then keep an eye out for Jason's D&D content next year. I'm sure we'll interview him later after he got a couple things out and see how he did, you know? Yeah,
Hopefully.
All right. You guys have a good night. We're going to get going. See you guys in a couple days. Peace out.